So I've got a problem that I've got to talk to you guys about. And also, I haven't been this excited about a fish tank in I don't know how long, so I really want to talk to you guys about what's coming up. Hey fish friends, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Zenzo from TazawaTanks.com. Before I get started, I do want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. It's actually Christmas Eve today, and by the time this video comes out, it'll be sometime in January. But I do want to wish all of you a wonderful Happy New Year. Hopefully everyone had a great holiday season. One of the things about being a YouTuber is it's kind of important that when you have content coming out that it's kind of complete so people can kind of see the finished product. Sometimes people don't like coming back and checking in on the channel as a project progresses, and they just want to see the finished product and just say, kind of show me already. So originally my plan was to have my project completed and show it to all of you at once when it's completed and when I've got it, you know, with the fish in there and everything all set up. But I'm so excited about this build that I just haven't been able to contain myself, and I just had to grab the camera and share it with all of you. So if you've been following my channel for some time, you know that I recently went to Hawaii, one of many trips, and I stopped by HC Aqua, his house, Jesse, and took some footage of some of his tanks and his ponds outside. And one of the ones that I was really excited about was the Mudskipper tank. If you watched that video, you do know that I shared how excited I was about the Mudskipper tank, that it was a highlight of all the tanks that I saw while I was there. And also I had shared with you guys that I was planning on doing something myself, and that I really wanted to have those fish. So the first thing that I did as soon as I got back here into California is I set up a tank. So I had some tanks back here. You might notice that this looks different here behind me. There used to be a couple 20-gallon tanks with some peacocks. Those are now moved over here. I've got some stands set up. So anyway, so I moved those tanks and added the 75-gallon tank. Now this 75-gallon tank is a tank that I've had for a long time. I think I've had it since the summer or maybe even the spring. I don't know. It's just been sitting on the other side of this room, kind of tucked away. I wasn't using it. I didn't even know if it held water. Someone gave it to me for free, one of my service customers. So I set it up, checked it if it was holding water, which it does. So I decided to use that tank as my Mudskipper tank. So I've played around with brackish water before. I have previously I set up one of my 20 gallons and did brackish, and even brought it to full salinity and did some salt water. I had some mollies in there at that time, and I was kind of playing around with those. But and had some inverts and stuff like that. But anyway, I've never done a full brackish system where I was really invested in doing a brackish system. And when I saw the Mudskippers, I said, I've got to set up this brackish system. I want to do it right, but I want to do a habitat that's both a Mudskipper habitat and a habitat for fish to swim around in. So here it is. Here is the 75-gallon brackish tank. So again, this is a 75-gallon tank. It's 4 feet across, 18 front to back. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a spot where fish could swim, and then also have a habitat for the Mudskippers. So this looks like a whole lot of sand, and it's deceiving. There's actually concrete blocks and foam inside there, taking up most of the volume of this area. So for those of you that are going to warn me about anaerobic bacteria and gas pockets and things like that, that may happen a little bit. I'm not too worried about that because I do have open atmosphere above, and then that can just release into the room. But this is actually not 12 inches or so of sand all the way across. This is just a little bit of sand, maybe about 1.5 inches or so of sand kind of built up right here because I want it to be aesthetically pleasing, and then a little bit in cracks in between. But most of this area is filled up with concrete blocks and foam, and there's only maybe about a 3 or 4 inch layer, maybe about 3 inches of sand on top here that kind of makes up the beach. What I wanted to do is I wanted to have kind of a sloping kind of shoreline, so I wanted to have a true water area for fish to swim, and then have kind of a shoreline that goes up and has a habitat for the Mudskippers. What I have learned is that the Mudskippers spend the majority of their time, on the surface, on the land, and not so much in the water. So they will kind of dip in the water from time to time, but mostly spend most of their time up here on the sand. What I might do is I might kind of carve out this little layer a little bit lower to kind of have like a secondary kind of pool. I did bury a air stone in there just to kind of create some water movement here, to just make sure that this water here doesn't stay stagnant, because it is isolated from this water over here. The other thing that I could do is I could raise the water level by a ½ an inch or so and just kind of have a little bit more wetland in this area. But I think probably what I'll just kind of do is kind of dig out this little area here so that the Mudskippers have all of this land and all this space over here. So essentially they have half of the tank, pretty much, because right here is the center brace. So if you look straight down, this is the center of the tank. So they have essentially 24 inches and then 18 front to back of land. Of course, there's a little bit of water there, but not so much. So they've got all this space. Because they are territorial, I did want to make sure that I had a lot of space so that I can have several. I might add some more rocks and stuff like that along the back, just to kind of create some breaks in between, so that it might, kind of break up the line of sight between the Mudskippers. Over here on the water side, so this will be kind of like the brackish, water reef thing or whatever. So anyway, this is about 25 gallons of water. I did kind of do some calculations based on how far across it is, and then how deep it is, front to back, and also the depth of the water. So this is about 25 gallons of brackish water. So I am going to put some fish in here that are appropriate for a tank of this size. I think what I might do is do like some bumblebee gobies. They do stay small, and they kind of do well in like a species only system. They also are small enough to where they're not going to predate on the Mudskipper. So there are some other really cool brackish fish, but they do get large, or some of them might be too predatory, and I wanted to make sure that the Mudskippers were safe. And then also I wanted to make sure that whatever I had in here, the Mudskippers weren't going to eat. So I think I'm probably going to do the gobies. Otherwise, maybe I would do mollies, but I don't know. That just seems kind of boring to me, just because everyone does mollies, and you see those in freshwater all the time. And I thought it would be really cool to have kind of some true brackish water fish in this area. But if you have any ideas of what might go well in a 25-gallon aquarium, so again, remember that this is 25 gallons of brackish water. What might go well in there that doesn't get too big, something that stays, less than 3 inches. So like the monos and stuff would get too big, but something that stays less than 3 inches or so that would do well in this kind of a system, and then be able to cohabitate with the Mudskippers that are going to be in here. As far as the construction, some people might be worried about sand kind of falling down, but again, these are concrete blocks here in the middle, and then I just kind of hid the concrete blocks with these pieces of dry rock, this old coral that I had, and kind of just made it look nice in there, and that could kind of provide some hiding spots for some of the fish that I do get in there, and also make it easier for the Mudskippers to climb up should they decide to go for a little swim over here. And then this little area I did leave, because I was going to put kind of a barrier right here and then have kind of a sheer drop off, but then for aesthetic reasons I wanted to kind of have a slope, so I left that gap and kind of let the sand kind of settle down. But this has been up and running for a few days now, and I haven't had any issues with sand settling. It's pretty compact. But anyway, I'm super excited about this tank. I have not been this excited about an aquarium in a long time, so I did want to share it with you and talk to you guys about what my plans are. Another idea I had was putting some plants in here. Now you're going to say, Zenzo, plants don't work in brackish water, and for the most part you're right. However, there is a plant that is specific to brackish areas, and that's a mangrove. So if you've watched the Nature Channel or documentaries, or if you've been to areas where fresh bodies of water kind of meet the ocean, you'll see what kind of mangroves, and those are those kind of trees and things like that kind of have their roots kind of going down into the brackish water. Well, I was actually thinking of kind of growing a little mangrove grove in here, and cutting some holes in the acrylic top that I made so that they can grow out. So they I would plant a few, let their roots go into the sand, and then have them grow up and out of the tank. One thing I did learn about mudskippers is that they are escape artists because they could climb. So they could climb up the surface of the tank and get out. So I had to make sure that I did a different kind of lid than some of the other lids that I have. So like over here on the Mbuna tank, I'm using kind of this corrugated plastic. I'm not sure if you can see it, but you can see some over here, this corrugated plastic. So anyway, that won't work because they can get out of the kind of spaces. So I did buy some acrylic and cut it on my table saw, and it fits directly inside here. I do have this one off right now because I'm doing a little modifications to it, drilling some holes for the airline, etc. So anyway, that is my update on what's going on down here. I'm super excited. I can't contain myself. I'm having a hard time finding the mudskippers though. I have talked to one of my specialty local fish stores that does specialize in getting some real exotic things, and they are on the lookout for me. So if they can find them on an order sheet, they're going to order me some. And I'll find them one way or the other. I do have some sources, but anyway, I'm super excited. If you're wondering about cycling, right now I've got just kind of this sponge filter core, so the plastic part that goes inside the sponge filter. I just have some filter floss wrapped around that, and that's kind of acting like a polishing unit. So for those of you that use sponge filters, and you know, obviously sponge filters don't do a great job of water polishing like a canister or hang on the backwood, but you can actually just take off the sponge, wrap it with some floss, and run that for a couple of days, and it kind of sucks up all that dirt and stuff. And that was because I didn't really wash the sand very well, and I had a lot of kind of cloudiness going on. But anyway, I've got tons of sponge filters, as you guys know, or most of you know. So I've got a bunch of cycle media, so when I am ready to put fish in here, I will put the cycle sponges in there. And then in the meantime, I'm just going to continue to run this. This water is dechlorinated, so that you know, kind of the nitrogen cycle can kind of start on its own anyway. Again, don't forget, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please, 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 if you have any experience with brackish water, if you have had you know, any small brackish fish, not like mollies, but you know, some cool brackish fish that could go in this system, please write down below in the comments. I would love to get your ideas. I really do appreciate all the feedback that all of you guys give me all the time. That's all I had for now. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.